I remember one of the topics at that time was artificial intelligence. Something that we forgot over the last 7, 8, 9 years. Why? Because we faced then political crisis, then corona crisis, name change, energy crisis, financial crisis, and somehow we forgot about the progressive things we discussed here in this same room.
Dear members of the cabinet of President Ivanov, dear colleagues from the organization, esteemed alumni and guests, I accept the task of being the first among equals in the most intellectually powerful organization in Macedonia and beyond, with a great sense of responsibility. And I address you today with the same responsibility. I'm glad to see you here, and I want to say that I'm so happy to see so many familiar and unfamiliar faces. Our generation's path will not be easy at all. Numerous challenges lie ahead, and we will need much wisdom in our struggle. I became part of the President Ivanov schools in 2020, during difficult and unpopular times for many aspects. However, the school survived and thrived because the secret of our success is simple. When you work with a clear mind and a pure heart, it's not possible for anything to be impossible. The alumni organization is a network of many quality young people with diverse profiles whose names are already being heard, with inspiring stories, people whose critical thinking contains ideas for change, offers solutions, and a lot of successful stories. I would like to say that our president deeply ingrained in all our individualities in everything we took from this school as a young people. I want to add that we are endlessly grateful for his effort, and now I want to congratulate to the new generations of successfully completing the school and for receiving the ticket from the president. But I want you to know that the name tags that you wore until yesterday are the most important piece of jewelry you will ever have. I wish you a good health, clear thoughts, and a pure heart, sincerity in words, and decisiveness in actions. That's how true leaders behave. Now, I would like to invite my colleague Dance to take the floor and to moderate next panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kata. Dear members of the cabinets, dear participants of the 15th generation of School for Young Leaders, dear panelists, alumni members, and guests, good afternoon. My name is Dancia Zmanova-Mirchevska, and as a former student here, it was like a decade ago, it's a real honor to be here and moderate this discussion. So we gather here today to celebrate the inspiring journeys of these individuals who have made a significant impact in their communities, but also beyond. So these remarkable people here have one thing in common. They are all alumni of our esteemed School for Young Leaders. So today we'll have the privilege of hearing firsthand how this program has shaped their lives, has shaped their careers. We will hear their personal stories, the challenges they faced, the lessons they learned, and the accomplishments they have achieved. So at the end of this discussion, we hope that you will get valuable insights into the power of leadership and the positive impact it can have on our world. And hopefully go home inspired and ready to embrace your own leadership potential. So please join me in welcoming our esteemed panelist, Stefan Andonovski, Minister of Digital Transformation. Round of applause, please. We have with us Mare Ushkovska, Assistant Professor in the International Balkan University. Adediran Adedapo, Business Development Manager. And Anastasia Ilievska, editor, journalist, and public speaking and body language expert. So first of all, I will start with the Minister Antonovsky. So Minister, a decade ago, too, you were a part of this school for young leaders, right? So what have you learned from this school that prepared you for the challenges of leading the first Ministry of Digital Transformation in Macedonia? And looking back, how did your experience here in the school prepared you mentally and emotionally for the challenges you're currently facing in your role?
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the invite. Dear friends, first, and then colleagues, it's been a while, you know, and it was in the same room that we were together that 2015 when political crisis was looming above the country, but no one actually at that time believed that the country will go in a wrong direction after that year. And in those moments, here in this room, you would see people speaking about the future that we were aspiring, not only aspiring to become part of, but also that we were part of. So I remember one of the topics at that time was artificial intelligence. Something that we forgot over the last 7, 8, 9 years. Why? Because we faced then political crisis, then corona crisis, name change, energy crisis, financial crisis. And somehow we forgot about the progressive things we discussed here in this same room. I remember one of the topics that we discussed with President Ivanov in the process of applying, because he wanted to see us all in the process of applying to this school, was actually the power of the sound, for example, and the power of radio frequencies. And all these topics somehow were forgotten over the years. What I remember most and what has led my life after that, that year we had the study visit that is usually organized by the school, and it was in Mala Prespa and Golo Brdo in Pustec. And it was a year in which we discussed together with the people living there, the Macedonians living there, about their life in Albania, but also about how the country can help further, because the question was further. The topic was not helping the country, because all of these people, usually the youngsters, were studying in the University of Skopje, had some scholarships that were coming to study in the country, got their ID cards to be able to do businesses in this region. And we were discussing how many books, new books they would need. The president was engaged himself and called the Minister of Education at the time, bringing some books. And what happened 10 years after? Last year, I'm hearing that many of those people in the census in Albania signed as Bulgarians. And then the number of Bulgarians rose from approximately 100, 200 in Albania to 7,500. So you've seen, I feel that somehow we deteriorate in all these years. And this school was so progressive at the times that it opened topics that were forgotten since then. And then today, I hope finally we can open these topics again. And that's why I'm very happy that you're discussing this year, especially you're discussing the topic of peace, something that is instrumentally important in the years that we're living, because no one would have expected a war only a couple of thousand kilometers from here. And I hope that you discuss these topics, because this school has always been about something different, something more, something out of the ordinary. I'm very happy to say this, and it's not just because I'm here, that half of my cabinet and the people that are my closest associates were also part of this school, are also alumni of this school. It is very interesting to see that almost in every ministerial cabinet, I see Kata here, almost every ministerial cabinet, there is a person that comes from this school, that has passed time that in the school. From my generation, I don't see them today, but we have a mayor of a municipality in Macedonia. I have a very close friend. We became friends here at the school. We opened a non-governmental organization right after the school. He is now one of the core people of the Council of the Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg, Christian. a fantastic group of people that was part of my generation, but also the generations to come, because I almost know, from every generation, I at least know 2 or 3 people. So in essence, I would conclude with this: the combination of people, but especially the topics we discussed at these events, and not only in this room, but also outside, the coffee breaks and the drinks breaks and the lunches and the dinners were something that is always has stayed here, especially having in mind what happened after that 2015 and the years that brought very negative energy. This was some kind of a positive beacon that was going on every year. And I'll mention only this: the 50th year anniversary we did in Struga, and Kata also mentioned it was, those were difficult times, 2019, 2020. But again, you will feel the energy in those discussions. Even though how much marginalized we were as alumni of this school, we still had these discussions of these great topics. So I'm very happy that you have this great topic of peace this year, and I hope next year and the year after we'll talk about Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, machine learning, again, the topics that this school really can bring about.
All right, this was a really thought-provoking response. Yeah, deserves an applause. Thank you so much, Minister, for sharing how your time here has equipped you with the mindset and the skills that you currently need in your role. So next up, we have Professor Maria Ushkovska, who leads by example with her leadership principles. So Maria, here's my question to you. Do you believe that success is a precondition for leadership? Do these two concepts always go hand in hand, or are all successful people are good leaders? And what does it mean to be a leader in the real world, according to you? What do you think?
Thank you, Dacia, for the question. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. It's an interesting concept, success and leadership, because we usually, when we talk about people in leadership positions, they tend to be successful individuals in their own field. So there is a legitimate connection between the two, being successful and being in a leadership position. However, I don't believe that every single successful person is also a good leader or a leader to begin with. Why? Because the word leadership stems from, to lead. In order to lead, you need to have someone that follows, or someone who is inspired by you, someone who is assisted and helped in their own success story through you. If you've established a great business and you're doing well, congratulations, yes, you are a successful person. But unless you've actually assisted your employees or other startups, people with ambition to lead them on their own individual path of success, then you're not necessarily a leader. You're just a successful person. So there should be, I guess, a distinction between the two concepts. While they are connected, it implies a certain level of responsibility on the successful people to lead the path forward for those newer generations or people coming after them. For example, if, as I said, if you're a successful businessman, what are you doing to improve the lives of your employees and their working conditions, or to inspire them to be their best professional selves? If you are a government official, are you simply interested in self-promotion, or are you interested in leaving a mark for the future generations of your community or of your country? So it's the little things, but I guess leaving a legacy of sorts for the next generation or for people who are working close to you, this is the point that makes someone a good leader. And all successful people have a possibility, unusual possibility to be in this position. It's kind of like people who are famous for whatever reason, right? They have this platform of being constantly in the eye of media and people listening to every word they're saying. So they can choose to just improve their own personal brand through that medium, and that's perfectly fine if that's what they choose, but that doesn't necessarily make them a leader, right? It makes them a successful person. The moment they start advocating for social change, improvements in the conditions of other people, or assisting others to reach a position of their own personal success, then they are also a leader. And this is something that I was discussing, interestingly enough, during the oratory evenings, the public speaking competitions we were having at the Ivanov School of Leaders back in 2012 when I was a participant. And this was one of the topics that we were discussing, what it means to be a leader. Well, this is my definition of leadership.
Mara's got a really great point here. So, Adetiran, what do you think? Some people believe that leaders are born, and others believe that leaders are made. What is your perspective of development on leadership qualities, and how do you think that these leadership qualities can be nurtured and can be enhanced? What do you think?
Thank you very much for this opportunity to be here. I'm very happy to be here. I'm thankful to President Ivanov for the invitation and the alumni. It's good to sit with the minister, professor, and someone in journalism. So, okay, I feel good about that. I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm going to look at leadership in an entrepreneurial scope. Like, I'm putting that in the context. Well, leaders, are leaders made, are leaders born, or are leaders just trusted upon? You know, from a word of Shakespeare, it says, some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. So some people have a kind of leadership trait, good communicator. Some people have that charisma, you know, when they enter the room, you feel, oh, this person should be a leader, you know. Does that make them a great leader? No. Some people, through hard work, you've done a lot for your company, your organization. You rise from step to step, you become a leader. Team lead, organization leaders. Does that make you a good leader? Nope. Some people like me, I started a business and I'm the CEO of the business, so automatically I become the leader. Does that make me a good leader? No. So there are some traits that as a leader or as a great leader, you need to have to make you a leader, either born into it, either that you were trusted into it, or either that you walked your way to be a leader. So some of the traits are you have to be very, very good with communication, which was a problem for me. I started my business, I didn't know anything about leadership. I just thought, okay, I'm going to employ some bunch of people, and I'm going to do the headless chicken syndrome. You do this, you do this, you do this, okay, result, meeting, and all that. I thought that was leadership, you know, and I saw that most of my employees are being burned out. Like, I've seen a lot of them say, oh, we can't do it no more because there's so much to do. And I'm like, what do you mean you're tired? I'm working every day. Why are you not working every day? I'm paying you for that. So you have to be very good with communication. Like, you need to communicate the mission and the vision of the company or what you do in the organization to the people as simple as possible. And you have to also know that everybody cannot comprehend at the same level. So you have to be personally willing to be able to explain to them in the way they understand it. You have to have a lot of self-reflection, and that's a big problem with leaders. How will you tell a CEO that what you're saying yesterday doesn't make sense, and you're one of the workers? The CEO might get, why are you saying it doesn't make sense? This is my company, I made this and all that. But the truth is, we don't take feedbacks. Most leaders don't take feedbacks. They feel like they have the mission, the vision, they should be right. So as a good leader, you have to be able to take feedbacks from people. Like, that's your team. The team or the company or the organization is not going anywhere without those people. So you have to take feedback from them. How do you feel? Carry them along and use the word we. It's togetherness. It's not just you. If it's just you, you can also just start the company and run it yourself. So I think as a leader, there are some traits you need to have, and there are some traits you don't need to have, but you need to learn it. You know, you need to start to learn how to communicate better, self-awareness. You have to also learn. I was speaking to Daniel last year, because I was a student last year, and we got into conversation at the coffee breaks. And it was like, oh, how do you lead? I'm like, yeah, I just go to work, do the thing I need to do. And it was seeing leadership in another aspect, which I try to emulate, and that has worked for me too. So as a leader, or to be a good leader, I think you just need to get some traits, you need to communicate. You have to have emotional intelligence too. You have to be willing to just listen to people. And if you can listen better, and then you can communicate better, I think you will be a good leader. So leadership, either by being born into it, or leadership either by being I've worked for it, or leadership trusted upon you because you're the CEO of a company or a leader of a new association. You need to be able to communicate. You need to be able to have emotional intelligence. These are the traits you need to nurture to make you a great leader. So that's for me, from my own perspective as an entrepreneur. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a really cool perspective. And speaking about applying the knowledge and skills to help others, I will move to Anastasia. So Anastasia, last year you were here a student at the Ivanov School of Leadership, and this year you returned as a lecturer to share your knowledge on public speaking. So reflecting your time both as a student and as a lecturer, what specific experiences or lessons have had the most impact on you?
Thank you very much for the invitation to be able to speak about my experience as a participant and afterwards as a part of the Alumni Association, which I encourage you to become part and to continue this beautiful journey we have all started together. So yes, last year I was a participant. The topic was more focused about artificial intelligence. So at one side, it helped me to have another perspective about this topic. Sometimes we as a people, if it is not the way, if it is not the place where we have a knowledge, sometimes we have to go outside the box we are living and to learn as much as we can about the world we are living. So it gave me a lot of knowledge about artificial intelligence. Now I am embracing it, I'm using it, and I think that it's a wonderful gift we have while we are alive. On the other side, the school helped me to look into myself and to see what are my strengths, what are my passions, what I'm good about, but also what are my weaknesses, my good sides, my good part of who I am. I should do that, remind me that I should focus on those skills that I have and to give them to the other people in some form. But the things that we are not so good at, we should always work on that, because the education and investing in your skill is a lifelong journey. It doesn't end with our formal education, but we have to always invest in ourselves. When I finished the last year's school, I came back and two things changed about me. I mean, I tried to implement what I've learned in two aspects. One was the aspect of the journalism. So I focused on what is my passion, and what I think that is most important for me as a journalist is to be the voice of the ones who are not heard. That's why I focused on the topics that were not so good investigated or presented to the public of Macedonia. So for the first time in the Macedonian history of journalism, we have confessions live in front of TV of victims of domestic violence. Five amazing women confessed what they experienced in their homes, but also as challenges with the institutions. So that was one thing that encouraged me. The way they had trust in me that I will do the good job was I was very thankful for that opportunity. And I think that after that, a lot of things changed, because a lot of people and journalists started to get interested in what is happening in the institutions, what is happening, because the things weren't good. So I'm very glad that I at least tried to make possible for one marginalized group and the group of women who weren't heard were heard, and their stories, I think they reach up to many people. That is one aspect. And the second aspect was the aspect that is my passion for a long time, and it is the art of public speaking and nonverbal communication. So when I was invited to be part of this year's team who will organize the school, I was so honored. But also when they invited me to have a lecture on those two topics, I was even more honored. And I want to share something with the participants. I've talked to many of you, but I want to emphasize something, and it is, for the first time in my life, I felt pride. I was very proud of you. For the first time in my life, I was proud of someone else's success, not my own, because I've been proud of my own success. I have been happy for someone else's success, but I've never been proud of someone else's success. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to feel that.
Yeah, it's truly inspiring to hear how you give back to the school and the community, and how the school played a huge role in your own development. So I'll be ready to move to the next round of questions. So I'll start with Minister Andonovski. Yeah, I know it was a long time ago, but can you share with us what are your most memorable experiences from the school? And most of all, what advice would you give to this new amazing generation of ISLA leaders?
Thank you very much. It wasn't so long ago. I can't remember. Only 9 years ago. No, it was a memorable event. It was a bit better than what these guys today are doing, because it was 2 weeks long. So we had a lot of time to hang out together with the people there. And we forged some friendships that are still around. I met a guy that was part of the school at the time. I met him in Washington a month ago. I was giving a speech at the Johns Hopkins University, and a familiar face in the second row. I didn't expect him. And he's coming to me after the event and saying, "I'm Philip, do you remember me being at the school?" I said, of course I remember. And then he told me a story of what he did after. He got married, he had moved to the States, he now works for one of the State Department agencies. So he's, doing a very good job. And we're reminiscent of what we were doing here, and how important these friendships that were forged at the time are becoming. So I would say maybe the first most important thing, takeaway from the school, is the colleagues and the network being built. And maybe the first thing that I always say to people when they're asking me should they apply to the school for the next year is, of course, mainly because of the people. Not only the group that you're in, but also the people that speak to you, the topics that are covered, but the people stay. These contacts usually stay. As I mentioned in my previous answer, the generation that I was in is now very active politically, in the business sector, home and abroad, in legal spheres. And those friendships that we formed there then are fruited into our professional lives, professional careers, in terms of our professional personal development, and also as groups, as I mentioned, the NGO, but also the political partnerships, now the success of the people that were part of the school. So my first takeaway is, really form these friendships here, and let them brew for a bit, because usually after the school you need, a month or two to reposition yourself in the society that you already live in. But then after that, then it continues. I remember that right after the school, it was the 6 of us coming from the school. We were going out almost every night together. It was the late of August, so it was, you had plenty of time. We were in between jobs. And those kind of, friendships stay. So my first and main takeaway is just remember who you are with here, and use the opportunity here to make these friendships. The second aspect is probably you will breathe leadership after this event. Not because of the theories you hear, not because of the topics you cover, the characteristics or the PowerPoint presentations that you see, but because you start thinking about philosophically. And because you start analyzing the aspects, internally analyzing the aspects that you are missing as a person, and then you start building them. At least what I did, these 2 weeks here made me realize that there are aspects that I'm very good at, but there are also aspects that I'm, lacking, as Anastasia mentioned. There's some very good things about me being in a leadership position, or I thought that I'm in a leadership position, but also there are many aspects that I'm missing. There are many challenges, the personal challenges that I'm facing. And the days here opened the door for it, or opened my mind to think about all these issues. I remember we had I think he is the now former Israeli ambassador to Macedonia. He was based in Belgrade, but he was very often a speaker at this seminar. He was talking about books that you should read, and he provided this list of important books that you should read, and these kind of discussions open the doors for internal discussions as well. So my second takeaway is probably that you should try to immerse yourself in the topics that you discuss here. And the third aspect is get out there and do stuff that you're not comfortable in doing. Exit your comfort zone, your bubble of people that you know, languages that you speak fluently, people that you know from your life before, and start doing something new. And that will not give you probably a new profession. You will not probably become a journalist if you go in front of a camera and film an interview, but we will show you that you have probably a potential for something more, something different. It will expose you to things that are way different than what you've did before. Because I've seen people that stay in the bubble and are successful, and also get out of the bubble and are extremely more successful than the first ones. These second ones have better stories to tell to their kids probably after, because they've did something, more. They've met more people. They've shared more experiences with more people. That they've tried something new. They've tried sport. They've tried a skill they didn't do before. They've started a new profession. They've changed careers, because then when Corona hit us, it showed that we can be flexible as people, that we can do different stuff. We can multitask. We can work from home. We can do the things that we weren't used to do before. So that is my final takeaway, that I think there is a possibility in this school to start something new and to try something different. Why not try the new business, try the new NGO, then fail. Failing is not a problem. Not trying is a problem, because when you don't try, you fail without, even making the first step, and then you're a failure for not trying. But if you try and make a mistake, no, not a problem. Everybody makes mistakes. The person that say that they don't make mistakes is probably lying to you and bragging about all the good things in their lives, not the bad things. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Andonovski, for sharing your takeaways. And I don't doubt that the networking here will continue in the outside world, because we've seen the pictures and videos. So let's now turn our attention to Mare. And Mare, as a professor, how do you see the leadership role that educators like you can play for younger generations?
Okay, interesting question. At the end of the day, the students are the judge of whether or not we're doing a good job. But as a professor, you're virtually serving two roles. The first one is a lecturer, where you're teaching students regular courses that they need to know for their future profession. That's number one. And the second role is that of a mentor. Now, what we want to see in young people, and the nature of my job is such that I work with young people all the time, what we really are looking for is to see, number one, ambition, and number two, hunger for knowledge and success. The moment we spot that in a student or a group of students, then we can take on that role of mentor, which involves so much more than just being, their day-to-day lecturer. I'm a strong believer in the concept of paying it forward. I was very fortunate when I was a student myself, great dreams, goals, but you don't really know how to achieve them, or you need help or assistance from one of your professors. They were there for me. Many, not all, but many were there for me, whether to give me a recommendation or to lead me towards the right, school, or to give me a word of encouragement or advice. They were there for me, and they've helped me. Some of them have really helped me open doors and achieve my personal goals. So now that I'm on the other seat, I'm in the other role, I try to do that for my students as well. Whether or not I'm successful at it, my students can judge. I do try. That means that we do have a responsibility. It's not just whether you want to assist future generations, it's your responsibility to help them. But they need to be ambitious in the first place. They really need to want it, and then you can be there to, teach them from your own mistakes, number one. For example, if I know something didn't work or won't really be the path toward the goal they're trying to achieve, then I can guide them toward, what summer school or what winter school would be beneficial for you personally, because this is what you want to achieve. I can be there to guide them towards the best scholarship opportunities or master studies or PhD opportunities. open their prospects because they might not know or they might not get the information that I'm getting in this stage in my life. So it's my duty to provide students who really want to achieve and they are capable to help them the best I can, the same way I was assisted when I was in their shoes. It's important to pay it forward to the next generation, and in such a way you're kind of creating, I guess, a chain of good deeds that will remain as new people, new generations come about. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of my idea of how we as educators can be there for the younger generations. On a more personal level, less related to career prospects or career ambitions, we are also there to support them emotionally, psychologically, if they're dealing with something. We all know we've been through some difficult periods in our life, which can be especially daunting when you're relatively young and inexperienced. So knowing that you have a professor who can also serve as a mentor or a guide or an advisor to you during those difficult periods, and us to be able to identify when some student is struggling, I think that's also an important role that we can also hope and try to play and help the newer generations. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Mara, your response raises a really interesting point about the power of investing in younger generations. So I would like also to hear Adediran's perspective on this, about, for example, what advice would you give to these current ISLA students who aspire to become leaders in their field? What would you say to them?
Okay, the first question would be, why do you want to be a leader? Why? Like, do you want to be a leader because you want to boss people around? Do you want to be a leader because you think it's very cool? Those are the questions that should come in your mind first. The purpose of you being a leader is to give. You're giving part of what you're learning to other people. You're making them better persons. So that's, if you want to be a good leader, or you want to lead anybody, that should be the first thing you ever think about. And I want to emphasize on what this school did for me last year. You know, it was amazing to be here. I had, at December last year, I was about to start a new startup, a digital marketing company. And then I was talking to the CTO and the tech guys, back end, front end, and we're just talking about the way we want to create this amazing application. And everything I was saying was something I learned from Alexandra and Katrina, because we had a project called Strifco. Yeah, it's like we were creating an app last year, and we created an app. Though we didn't win the competition, we were second, but we created an app just in 4 days, and we're just like 6 people. Boris was also there, so we were like 6 people creating an app. I don't know anything about tech. I'm a business developer, you know, so tech is not really my. So I don't think anybody out of us was in tech, but we could come up with how an app can actually work. So I was having a conversation with the CTO, and then was asking me a few questions. And I was giving my answers based on what I learned or what I had to read because of this project. And I was like, did you do any tech thing? I'm like, nope. I didn't do anything. In my mind, I'm like, yeah, it was last year. So I'm really happy that I could learn something from the school, and the friendship I also make, like the minister mentioned, the connection here is really good. I've connected with a lot of people here, and I've done something nice with some of the people. And just imagine that. Let's think a bit outside the box. Imagine this is 15 years, and then the average of 30 students every year. That's about 500 leaders this school has produced. Yeah. Imagine there are 10 president or organization who have the same kind of incentive to do. That means 10 times 500. That's like, you know, the numbers of leaders that will come out every year. Maybe we'll not have like leaders like Trump, you know, you get my point. It's like this school has educated people, and it has helped people to nurture what they really, really can do. That as for me, that's what it has done for me. To nurture what I can really do, and it's not just about, what I used to know. It's different now, because now, anytime I'm making decisions, I reflect back on things the professors have said, yeah, they were great professors last year too. You know, we had conversation with some of them. Professor Robert is from the U.S., University of Tyler, yeah, I think. Yeah, we sent a mail back and forth about my project, my thesis and my PhD, and it was like, oh, he's ready to reference me and all that. You know, those are kind of connections you can't really get if you're not in the same room with these people. So I feel privileged, and I feel like everybody here should be privileged. You feel privileged that they are here, and you're 30. There are a lot of people who will die for this opportunity. There are a lot of people who will pay for this opportunity. I've paid a lot to attend leadership conferences, even with the UN. You know, so what I got here was quality. It was personal to me, and I took it that way. And I also met a lot of friends. And for me, I think it's a great institute, and I'm happy to be here to speak to future leaders. I'm a future leader too, so I'm happy to speak to you and speak to me and hear from other panelists too. So for me, just connect with people. You know, you don't know when you need them. Yeah, connect with people, and don't think, oh, maybe you're not going to be a leader, of course, but have the charisma, have everything it takes to be a leader. Because one day, maybe just maybe, he became a minister, you know, maybe, you know. So she's a professor. Yeah, so maybe you'll be in that position that all you need else is the skills you learn to be a leader. So just learn the skills, talk to people, make friends, and enjoy the time. Yeah, and party too, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to add, Adadapo reminded me, we were having a conversation yesterday about how you learned about the school of President Ivanov, and then I spoke to a couple of other participants for this year's school who came, and all of you were recommended to come here and attend by your professors. Yes. So there you go. Professors are doing community service by informing people with lots of potential and lots of qualities about the good schools that are out there. Otherwise, you would have missed out on an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, exactly on point. So yeah, Adadapo, you got some really quite good advice there, and we can tell you're good at math too. So I hope that our leaders will listen to your wisdom and apply it into their journey. So to wrap this up, let's hear what Anastasia has to say. So Anastasia, as a really successful alumna of this School of Young Leaders, what inspiring message would you like to share with the new generation? And what advice can you offer them from your experience, how they can make the most out of this educational journey and prepare themselves from potential leadership roles in the future?
Thank you for the question. Well, the first thing that I would like to say is that there is only one investigation in our life that will always pay it off, and that is investment in ourselves. That is something that for sure will pay it off and will have will have something good in our life. That will be something that I would firstly set, and following my advice, I have do that my entire life. Anything that I can do to be better, to have better skills, potentials, to work on my potentials. So that will be probably my first message, to always invest in themselves. Rather than if it is a knowledge, skill, friendships, because that is also investment in themselves. And the second thing, well, life is not always rainbows and butterflies. There are hard times. We will have a lot of hard times, and we will meet hard people who will give us hard times. But even in those hard times, we should always remember who we are, to stand up for ourselves, and even most importantly, to stand for the ones who are weaker, whose voice cannot be heard, and while doing that, to help live in a better world. To me, that is one of the essentials of the life. So I will be very short and wrap it up. Always invest in yourself, and when the hard times and the hard people came, always stand up for yourself and stand up for others.
Thank you, Anastasia. And with your advice, we just concluded a truly inspiring and thought-provoking panel discussion with our 4 remarkable alumni of the Ivanov School of Leaders. Okay, plus me, 5 remarkable alumni. So thank you all for sharing your unique perspective on leadership and the power of investing in yourself with this leadership education. Let's give them a big round of applause to our panelists. So before we conclude, I would like to invite Andrea Iluska, the manager of this amazing welcoming hotel, to wrap up this discussion. The floor is yours.
Dear guests, dear leaders, welcome to the 15th anniversary of the School of Young Leaders, and welcome to our hotel, or as we used to call it among us, the home of the School of Young Leaders. This alumni association was built on the foundation of leadership, vision, and commitment to bettering ourselves and our communities. Today, we not only celebrate those 15 years of growth, but also the impact that each of us has made for this school. We've heard from insightful leaders, shared significant experiences, and discussed the future of leadership. But most importantly, we've strengthened the bond that have made our community of young leaders so unique. As vice president of this remarkable organization, I'm proud of what we've achieved together, but even more excited for what's to come in the future. Let's carry forward the spirit of collaboration, learning, and innovation that has brought us this far and continue to make a positive impact for the years to come. Thank you all for your dedication. And here's to the future of our ISLA Alumni Association and the leaders we are shaping for tomorrow. Thank you.